Hello, friends, rollers, one and all. Welcome back to another episode of Classin' Up the Joint. Oh shit, what letter was I on? I think it was on E or F. The part of the show where we ask fantastic people fraught questions. I can do it. I'm gonna make a whole alphabet by sometime. My name is Colin. I am your host. I use they and he pronouns, and as per usual, I am joined in the Zoom room, the Zoom studio, as it were, by a fantastic, wonderful guest who will introduce themselves.
Thank you so much for having me, Colin. My name is Matt, he, him pronouns, also known as Improv and RPG all over the interwebs, where I teach people how to use improv skills to make it easier for especially beginners, but everyone of all skill levels, to enjoy roleplay at the table, whether you're playing D&D or any other TTRPG that, fills your heart's desires.
Yeah. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. I am so excited to get to talk to you today.
I'm so pumped. Thank you so much for having me. This is just such a blessed opportunity. Thank you.
Our pleasure, truly. I think for me, one of the things that was really exciting was to find someone that we wanted to talk to that I'm like, oh, this is something that I think is really important too, and it's something that I wish more people embraced fully in this way, you know?
Absolutely.
And come from a vaguely similar background of like actual real life performing, live performing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Matt, so where I'd like to start with everyone is where you got your start with games. Was it a childhood table that continued on to adulthood? A lot of people were like, oh no, COVID was the time when we're all stuck indoors. But where did that journey start for you?
So I started playing D&D like for realsies, as in I actually knew what I was doing and knew what class I was playing and what the numbers meant. It was when I had already been doing improv for a few years at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my friends was just like, hey, we want to start doing a weekly D&D night just to hang out. Do you want to join? And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And then I made a Mr. Bean inspired character. And
Awesome.
It was just such a joy because
Yeah.
I felt particularly lucky in that I was joining a table where I knew everyone already, and everyone was improvisers. So I kind of already knew how to like work with them and play the game in a fun, dynamic, story driven way without having to worry about messing up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you still play with the same people?
I don't. It's been a long time. Look, hey.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
I'm always so curious. Like, again, some people have been like, oh, yeah, man, I have been playing with the same group of people off and on for 25 years. And others are like, no, I started 2 years ago, but we're still in it.
Right. Yeah. I miss that group a lot, but there were just so many things that got in the way. I say got in the way. There were a lot of really great things that happened where, like sometimes some of your friends, they're like, I have a kid now. And I'm like, oh, yes, please do your thing.
Yeah, we're probably going to see you less for a little while. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there have definitely been hurdles, but I do have some groups that started before things shut down that they've been going strong. One group in particular, one of my kid tables, because I started running public games. And I remember that my table was always the table that all the like parents would bring their kids. They're like, oh my gosh, that looks like fun. And then they would just like, drop them off or just sit there and watch them play. But one of the kid tables, when things, collapsed, we were just like, okay, I just kept canceling because I don't know when things will let up. But one of the parents, like, they just kind of sent a group message and they're like, hey, my kid really misses the game. Is there any way you could do it online? We'd be happy to pay for like Zoom or something. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that
It's so
warms my heart.
generous. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, no, you don't have to pay for it. I got it. We got it covered. Just the fact that y'all still want to play online, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And so then those tables have still been going strong. And so
Yeah.
it's been a
Well,
lot of fun.
and I think that's really a testament to your skills as a GM. My own experience with an online game and kids, similarly, like kind of right as everything shut down in 2020, a coworker of mine and I like tried to start this game, and after probably I think we did about a calendar year, and then we're like, man, I don't know if they're not into it, but like half of them are kind of keeping their cameras off sometimes, and we don't know if they're into it. And they say they are, but like we feel really drained afterwards. So yeah, I think that is a true compliment to you as a GM that you've been able to keep that going and shift it. It sounds like relatively seamlessly onto Zoom and away from an in-person table.
Thank you. Well, there have been some obstacles, and
Sure.
I mean, of course, every person is different, and so
Yeah.
I have had a few players that have had to drop off just because sometimes it's hard to have to stare at a screen all day. And so like
Absolutely.
the ones that have stuck, I've been very fortunate to be able to keep playing with them.
Yeah.
It is the wildest feeling, I gotta say. One of my kid players was like, "I'm graduating now," and I'm like, "What?
Whoa.
I knew you
Uh-huh.
when you were in elementary school."
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm so old.
That's so cool though. That's really
it's
cool.
wild.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be able to kind of watch as I imagine is very similar to watching as a parent watching your child develop, because you're like, oh, your role play and the way you understand the game and the way you play and engage with your peers at the table, I can see that changing year over year.
Absolutely. Like one in particular, when they joined my table,
Mm-hmm.
they were like the definition of a wallflower, where I would have to like poke and prod a bit to get them to
Mm-hmm.
say that they want to do anything that's not just I follow that person or something
Yeah.
like that. But now they're at the point where they create some of the funniest moments at the table and they started D&D club at their school. And I'm like,
Cool.
oh my gosh, let's go.
Yeah. That's amazing. Oh, I'm so happy for you. That's such a like what a cool feeling, what a good
Yeah.
accomplishment for that
I'm
kid.
so proud.
Yeah, of course. Um so I want to kind of talk about the history of your performing and personal history a little bit, and how it got you to DMing. So how did improv start for you? Like, where was that a thing where you're like, I want to do this. I want to do this and like commit to it and be really good at it and perform.
So improv started because the entirety of my life before I started taking classes was the opposite of improv. I was
Mm-hmm.
the kid that in the fourth grade for our yearbook, they're like, we're going to do something really fun for the class where you put in exactly what you plan to do in the future, like what your future
Okay.
job or whatever is. And so you got like firefighters, someone said Superman, and
Cool.
then mine, and I still do this, but I put certified public accountant as a fourth grader.
Wow.
Because that's all my dad does, and I'm like
Sure.
following in the dad's footsteps. But it's like everything was so plotted out.
Mm-hmm.
My dad would ask me to order food for the family, and I'd spend like 10 minutes trying to figure out a script of exactly what to say so there would be no questions. They're not going to
Mm-hmm.
ask me anything. I'm going to be like, okay, I want this with this and this and this, and just do it, please. Take the money, and I just don't
Yeah.
want to deal.
Yeah.
I don't want to faint here, but that's the degree to how anxious I was with
Mm-hmm.
anything spontaneous.
Still rolling. Yeah. So you were saying kind of as a kid being confronted with a spontaneous like go order food was anxiety ridden
Yes.
and horrifying.
Absolutely. Every possibility of having to deal with something in the moment was the worst thing. I remember being asked to say something in for like a class assignment, and one time like stepping to the front and then feeling really lightheaded and being like, and then like the teacher guided me back to my chair before I fainted. It
Mm-hmm.
was that bad.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, with that, my friends started going to improv shows and we watched it and I was like, I remember this sort of thing. I remember watching
Mm-hmm.
Who's Line and it being like,
Yeah.
that it's like, oh, that's a type of person that I wish I could be, but there's no way I could do that. But then one of my friends said, well, they have workshops. We could try
Mm-hmm.
this. And I remember going to the first workshop and getting like all the butterflies, all the fear, never getting up for anything until at the very end they're like, "Oh, we're going to try this one thing." And
Mm-hmm.
I thought of a joke and in hindsight absolutely terrible. It was the
Sure.
worst joke. I think I was ripping off a joke that I had heard on Who's Line. So it
Mm-hmm.
had extra layers of bad, but the
Well,
instructor lied
yeah.
to me and was like, I think you've got a knack for this. And so that was enough of
That's
a
awesome.
boost to my
Yeah.
ego where I just kept going. I kept
Yeah.
going. They started doing classes. I started learning. And here I am now, where
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like there are many moments nowadays. If my dad's like, hey, would you do this? I
Mm-hmm.
just I just run up there and do the thing without
Yeah.
having any idea of what's going to happen and just letting myself be there and figuring it out.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, and like I always say, all art is theft anyway. So, who's to say that original joke wasn't yours?
Right.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that is so cool to kind of to recognize this I would like to be this kind of person and to go out and really and pursue it and be able to do that. And also I think, again, what a great facet of RPGs and of improvisation of all its kinds, that it can really spur interesting and creative growth in that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like I feel like from where I was to where I am now,
Hmm.
I'm the testimonial of saying if I can do it, then anyone can.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, speaking of that, like, what was kind of the pathway from, so okay, first improv class to successful, debatably successful according to capitalism, but successful and fulfilling, I would say, career, and hobbies as improv comedian, and then to GMing and leading games that for kids going from elementary all the way to graduation. How did you get from kind of, okay, I'm gonna dive in improv comedy, my improv friends want to do D&D, I'm going to GM and I'm going to make this a whole thing that I do?
Yeah. So I started GMing because one of my friends said, "Hey, I want you to run this because I don't have time to figure this out." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I'll
Uh-huh.
do it."
Uh-huh.
And then I just jumped in and I was basically, the preparation side of me, in spite of the
Sure.
fact that I embraced the improv, that prep side that was honed for so many years, leapt out and just started working on like, okay, this is how this campaign's going to go. These are the things I can set up.
Yeah.
But having set all the stuff up, it let me then improvise as all the characters based on what I
Mhm.
know the people I was playing with would like,
Yeah.
what their characters would like and stuff like that. And I think I started doing streaming stuff because
Mhm.
one of the people that I taught in an improv class had started doing online content and asked me if I wanted to be a part of one of their streams. And I was like,
Cool.
oh, hell yeah, let's go. And after that, I caught the bug and it was perfect timing. I keep referencing it, but it's like the shutdown
Yeah.
happened and then I couldn't do improv anymore. And
Mhm.
but then with the stream, it was like, okay, this is scratching like the same sort of itch where
Yeah.
I get to make up stuff on the fly, although with a specific character, and I don't have to be out and about. I can just do it all inside. Everything's safe. And so it all just kind of worked out. And from doing that, getting more invitations to play with different people, different tables, different channels, I started to think, wait, I see videos about improvisation, about role play, about how to make moments meaningful. But a lot of those have focus on like more dramatic things. They tend to err more on the side of like, having an epic Lord of the Rings moment. Whereas like, I mean, even in Lord of the Rings, you have your moments of levity too. And like, I could use that as a background of providing content for people where they can also make a funny moment happen that will fit the tone. That's not like, it's not like someone making a fart joke in the middle of Lord of the Rings.
In the middle of a very
weird.
dramatic scene that has nothing to do with it. No, it's how do you take the drama that happened and bring it home with something to get everyone's laugh going again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so cool. Yeah, I think that's true. I think a lot of I think purposefully or not, a lot of content has focused on how do you become a better actor, dramatic actor, through role play, right? And there's do you feel that there is any sense? I feel like there is a sense among theater that comedic actors are not as good. Or if you have devoted yourself, if you've decided I'm going to be a comedic actor, then there's a bit of a like a classist sort of a thing within theater. Do you think that is at all true among? I guess I would say improv content creators who are trying to guide RPG role play in this way.
I could definitely see that, and I think a big part of it is very like anecdotal because.
Sure.
We've all had experiences where we're at a table and you're trying to take it seriously, and then someone shows up as Farty McFarterson, and then it becomes very jarring. And so, I could definitely see that. And I think that the difference is all about being able to be aware of everyone around you, be aware of the moment, and use those. I think of them as kind of like in any live performance where you're expecting feedback. Like if you're doing improv comedy or if you're doing stand-up comedy, you do something with an expectation of either you're going to get a laugh or you're going to get silence, but that's like that'll tell you what's about to happen. Whereas a lot of times when someone comes in that's super jarring, they don't have that experience. And so they might be making this joke with the expectation of like, okay, I'm just making this joke because it's making me laugh, but without regard for who's receiving it. And so I could definitely see like the juxtaposition of like what people experience and then what you can achieve if you have the skills to read the room and then execute.
Sure. I think it's interesting to me talking about reading the room because I think there's kind of two levels of it happening within role play, right? There is reading your table, reading kind of the people that are next to you. And then there's your potential audience when we look at streaming or actual play or a staged version even. And one of the things for me is like, well, I don't find it too difficult to read my table. They're right here. Hopefully we got a little bit of experience together.
Right.
But reading your live stream or online audience, even when if it's live, you maybe have a chat that you can check in on and get feedback that way. But it's a very, very different experience.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think a lot harder in a lot of ways.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as far as that goes, it's very important. And I'll say this, it's very important for any game to have those session zeros, to have those moments where everyone talks about expectations and tone and everything. Because when it comes to a live performance or recorded performance, if it's sent out to other listeners or viewers, then it's important that we stay true to the expectations that we set. And as far as those audiences are concerned, even though they might not be in the session zero per se, in effect, the tone and the expectations are set through whatever the blurb is when they read about the show initially, or whatever the first session is, where it's like, hey, this is what our game is going to be like, so take it or leave it. But then being able to stay true to that, being like, okay, this is what we've set up, this is what we have in effect promised the people, and so then we keep delivering on that promise. And maybe if we deviate from it too hard in one episode, it could be like maybe even a blooper OVA type of episode, or I don't know, giving some sort of like opening spiel where it's like, hey, this is tonally a little bit different from what you're used to, but we hope you'll give it a chance, like that kind of thing too.
I think in all show business, the classic adage of give the people what they want is always true. And managing expectations, I think, is a huge part of that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Actually, I think I had an idea. Now I'm like, no, we're leaning into this other way. So and I want to kind of focus on the content you're making, I guess, for a minute, and we'll come back to GMing because I have other things there. But so a lot of your content is geared towards teaching both improv and role play skills to people that are less experienced, rather than like, haha, you've been doing this for years and you think you're very good. Here's the advanced version. Right. But what do you think, after many years of experience, it makes beginners especially more hesitant about improvising and role playing in game?
I think the biggest hesitation comes from inside. Because a lot of times there are a lot of doubts, especially when we're changing from what we've done normally to what we want to do next. Whether it be something like, I don't want to sound stupid here, or I don't want to make a mistake, or even like I don't want to let down my character, because that's a big thing, and that's why I've got a lot of players who are initially afraid to speak as their character. And not to say that you have to, but a lot of my players were initially afraid to, because they said, my character is so awesome, but I don't sound awesome. And it broke my heart, because I'm like, no, you're awesome.
You're awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, it's a big part of it is allowing them to recognize that. And it's hard to overcome that. And so a lot of times when I try to teach people, I give very small steps, very easy, very simple things, because I know there's so many very valuable videos about like yes and what that means.
Right.
But if there's someone that's super nervous about saying anything at the table, if someone says something to them and they're like, oh, but what does yes and mean? It's hard to make that actionable.
Right.
And so my tactics, like whenever I've tried to bring like my younger or more introverted players out of that internal doubt, is guiding questions where I might be like, oh, so it's okay if you don't want to talk as your character right now, but what do you think your character would try to push for? What might they try to do right now? Would they try to, and then I would give them some examples. So then they're like, oh, okay, this could be easy. I'm like, you don't want to do the speech. That's fine. But would your character do a speech? And they're like, yeah, he would totally do a speech. And I'm like, okay, great. Now we're going to do the role and we'll see how it all goes. And it's like, it's all about like, when you have those doubts, trying to give it direction, give the player direction, so that they know that this is something they can do that will let them add on, let them expand a little bit out of their comfort zone without having it suddenly be, hey, Jimmy, I need you to do a 3-minute monologue out of nowhere.
You cast motivational speech, and hey, the rules say you got to talk for 10 minutes, so let's go, buddy.
Just give me your 10-minute stand-up act, please.
Yeah. Jesus. I mean, I look at that spell and I think, what is it? Inspiring leaders is the feat. There's like a couple of these things where like if your character speaks at length, you do something else mechanically. But how 10 minutes is a long time.
Oh, yeah.
2, like it feels so unnecessary in some ways and like really kind of paralyzing to players that might not have that much experience.
Absolutely.
You tell me to talk for 10 minutes, I can probably do it, but I've been doing that for 30 years.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not the normal person in that way, you know?
Yeah.
Are there sort of specific skills or like what is like the first thing that a newer player, newer to improvising, can kind of start building on so they can feel more confident? Like, or like 1 or 2 sort of like those very essential, this is the bedrock that everything can be built on.
Yeah, a lot of times when a player is apprehensive about starting to add on more role play, it's because they have in their mind, I have to do a sick voice for 10 minutes. I have to be able to be like the Joker or something. And it's like, it doesn't have
I have to give Sam's speech from the end of the Rings about the green grass growing.
Yeah, it's like if that's the bar, then I'm not hitting that bar. I can't be Samwise. But, but so my first thing for any beginner who wants to inject more role play is to add in just little bits of flavor beyond what the game just gives you. Like even in combat, if you're like, I'm gonna attack with my longsword, that's basic. That's like what the game gives you. That's what you're doing. But you can add in some element that doesn't have to take a lot. You can say, I swing my longsword. My character has their teeth clenched in anger.
Yeah.
And that's just like 5 words that adds on a lot. And it doesn't, and it's like, it doesn't require a lot of back and forth either. Like one thing that I've been considering for like beginner advice is the idea of role play. A lot of times you think we have to improvise back and forth a ton, but you can start stepping out of the comfort zone by doing essentially like set it and forget it lines where you're like, I'm gonna add in this thing where I cast magic missile and it takes a tinge of blue because my character is feeling that way internally, and no one has to respond to that. No, you don't have to worry about a reaction, but it adds so much flavor with just a few words. And I think that the biggest takeaway for any beginner is that you don't have to do everything. You don't have to do all of it at once in order to role play. All you have to do is add just a little bit. And then you'll think, oh, it's not that hard. I'm going to do this other thing and add just a little bit. Maybe I'll speak as my character for a moment and then go into the regular, like, describing what the gist of it is. But just a little bit each time makes you just a little bit stronger, just a little bit more comfortable.
Well, it's a little bit of it. It's adding the details to the picture. The GM has kind of painted you this nice big scene, and you're like, I could be a stick figure that's swinging a sword, or I could have a little like actual muscle tone or something, like add a little. Absolutely. I love that. For someone who's kind of just starting out in this way, and we kind of said this, but is that the thing to initially focus on? If you're like, I have never played before, and I'm going to come in here, and I kind of think it is, but I'm going to ask like directly, like I'm brand new. I've just walked into your table, and I'm like, I don't really know what's going on here, but I'm excited. What should I do?
Yeah. So when it comes to that, I'm sorry, it's a little bit of a cop out, but it depends on the person. So
No, totally,
yeah.
totally. Yeah, there's never a one size fits all
Right.
answer
Yeah,
there, I
like
suppose.
because
Yeah.
there are so many players where they'll show up and maybe they come in and they're already like, okay, so my character, and then they just launch into a Scottish accent that's perfect. And I'm like,
Ah.
oh my gosh, okay, I can count
Uh-huh.
on this person to
Yeah.
do their character voice and it's perfect. But then it's a matter of like, okay, what are the elements that they might not be so comfortable with?
Yeah.
Maybe what they had was like something they had planned and thought about. And then it's about, okay, how do I switch gears and then listen to the rest of the table? So then
Yeah.
it's not just the things that I'm saying out into the table. It's also absorbing and being able to reflect. And
Yeah.
I think that one of the most difficult elements for someone who is starting off in role play is the ability to step out and look at
Mm-hmm.
the other players, the other
Mm-hmm.
characters,
Yeah.
and to be able to absorb what they're saying. Because if you absorb what they're saying, even though it's hard to step out of, because there's a lot of fear and
Yeah.
um, apprehension inside. But if you allow yourself to focus on someone else, it can give you a very easy pathway. Because if
Mm-hmm.
someone else says, I'm going to do this thing, you can always support them, which allows you to build that character
Yeah.
and player dynamic quicker, and then they'll be more supportive of you too. And
Yeah.
so, for anyone that's coming to the table new, my biggest thing is you're a team.
Mm-hmm.
All of you as characters, even though your characters might not know each other, even if your characters might be enemies at the start, you as players are a team.
Yeah.
And we're all going to
Yeah.
work together. We're going to do our
Yeah.
best to help each other out. Even
Game doesn't work if anyone's like saying no and not. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Totally.
We want to do our best to support each other as players.
Yeah.
So then we're more free to do the fun things as characters because we know that we've got each other's backs.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Hello, rollers! It is I, your host, debatably friendly DM, and other things, Colin, here to welcome you to the mid-roll. Thank you for listening, and we hope you are enjoying this episode so far. This is your periodic interruption, brief as it may be, to remind you that The Roll Report is on many social media platforms. You can find us around the interwebs at The Roll Report Cast, on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Blue Sky. We don't do the other thing. We don't talk about the artist formerly known as Twitter. But you can follow us there for news and announcements, special clips from the interviews you may not have seen, and learn about who we're going to interview next. Because if you are very intrigued and curious about upcoming interview guests, if you head on over to patreon.com/therollreport and give us a single dollar, you can submit questions for our interviews, and only you and only our other supporters on Patreon will hear the answers. That's right, special Patreon-only Q&As with interview guests if you support us there and if you send us questions. Thank you so much for listening. Back to the show. Enjoy! I think the active listening component of improvisation is one that is difficult for people that have been doing it for a long time, let alone someone who's coming in. You know, I kind of want to say like walking in with the main character energy and dropping a perfect Scottish accent. And you're like, you're going to be great. I can rely on you. Do I need to worry about you playing nicely with the rest of the table? Probably not. Hopefully not. But yeah. And I think this also leads to my next question I wanted to ask, which is, are there things that everyone should be practicing no matter their level of experience with role play or improvisation? I would say active listening to me is like immediately on that list, like really absorbing what people tell you.
Yeah,
absolutely. At the table.
And I think the thing, and this would be an extension of the listening, is trying to figure out what the what the players around you enjoy
Mm. Mm-hmm.
so that you can help them get it.
Yeah.
Like if and this extends in the two layers of player and character, where
Mm-hmm.
say the player loves like Lord of the Rings style epic fantasy, you're being a hero and you're gonna go save the world. And let's say their character in this specific game wants to save their family.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment, as yourself, you can consider, okay, as far as this character goes, even if our characters, let's say that our characters start off as enemies,
Mm-hmm.
we can build bridges to connect to that character through finding elements that our character might relate to. Like
Mm-hmm.
even if like let's say the two characters hate each other because they were both a part of two different armies that had
Sure.
fought against each other, and now the war's over, but they still hold those grudges. But I mean, for my character, maybe it's like, hey, I wouldn't want my family to be taken by the big bad
Right.
either. So even though I hate you, I will do my best to make sure that you get them back,
Yeah.
because everyone should have their family. And
Yeah.
so then it's like,
Yeah.
I guess the main point is like being able to find those bridges so that your characters can work together. There may be some tension still, but
Mm-hmm.
if you start working so other characters get what they want, and fitting the way that the player wants their character to
Yeah.
get what they want, then they're more likely to try to do that for you too. And if
Yeah.
everyone's doing that, then you end up with beautiful moments where everyone's kind of flowing together. It's like
Mm-hmm.
those beautiful magical improv moments where it seems like
Yeah.
it feels scripted.
Yeah.
Even when it's not, it feels scripted because everyone is already on the same page and
Yeah.
working with each other.
And I love this because it you know, like again, like it addresses the player level and the character level, and you're on both of them, you're trying to get everyone to collaborate more. And that exactly is gonna lead to these moments where everyone is actually united, and you can create something truly magical when we all kind of understand everyone's motivations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Super cool. Um um so in D&D itself, like as kind of a system,
Yeah.
do you think there's like scaffolding or rules the way they're written that is designed to support role play versus things that like that you have come through experience or through your background and be like, "Oh, this is not in the DM's guide or the player's handbook, but this is definitely like a thing that should be there or
Right.
be in support of role play."
Yeah. And I'll be super honest. When I
Yeah.
when I read this question, coming from an improv background, I initially had skipped over the little section in the player's rule book that talks
Mhm.
about role playing, the
Mhm.
2014 player's handbook.
Sure.
I went back to it and I read over it, and it's very short. It's
Mhm.
tiny. And I'll admit, like if I were just flipping through the book, if I see that, I'm probably gonna skip over it just to look at all the cool classes and options that I would get. Um,
Mhm.
I think that as far as the book is concerned in support of role play, there are a lot of little things. Like the example they have in the handbook, it's a good example. It does good explanation, but the hard part is that uh, it's very shallow. And
Mhm.
of course, it would have to be. I don't know if it even covers a whole page if you don't count like formatting. Um, and
I
so,
don't think so. I was trying to pull it up myself, just be
Mhm.
like, what can I find a moment? It's
Right.
really minimal.
Yeah, it's so small. And as a result, it's like if you read through it, you might think, okay, that's a good example. I can see
Hmm.
why, I can see the explanation behind these moves, but it doesn't take you from that to doing it.
Yeah.
And so I would love more support for that kind of thing. And this is also part of me being a little slow in terms of not having read the new versions of rules.
I mean, I would argue that is like one of the least necessary things in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
I was talking about this with a guest a little while ago, and maybe I'll ask you this question as well. I don't think knowledge of rules as written is a requirement to be a good GM. I think it is more about your ability to create the bones of a narrative, keep it going with your players, and make sure that your table and your players are happy and
Right.
engaged with your story. And if you don't know a rule, uh, eh.
Yeah.
So I think do you agree? Do you have thoughts on like what makes a good DM in this way,
Right.
whether it is no deep, thorough knowledge of rules,
Hmm.
or kind of your ability to actually run the game and tell the story,
Right.
or combination thereof?
Yeah. Since a lot of my games are streamed, I err more
Hmm.
on the latter of being able to
Hmm.
keep the game moving, keep everything
Sure.
going smoothly. But um, I do also see, like, because I've got some friends that are very, very rules oriented.
Hmm.
And in that case, it's like if I run for them, I make sure that I know it, or
Sure.
it could also be a time for them to shine where I'm like, oh, I I forgot about that rule. Would you tell me about it? And then they
Hmm.
get to take the
Yeah.
reins. But I'm I'm definitely more the type that is going to wing it in a situation where I don't know.
Hmm.
Because I mean, there's always a time and place for like going to look something up, especially if it's a really high
Sure.
stakes thing. But I feel like having at least enough knowledge where you can wing it, where you can be like, I'm not sure what the specific is for this, but this sort of thing makes sense to me.
Yeah.
What do y'all think? And being able to have
Yeah.
that back and forth with the players. Because if someone is that strict about the rules, they might say, oh, actually, there's this thing over here. And then
Hmm.
and then I don't have to look it up.
Yep.
But
Yep.
if they're all cool with it, if everyone is happy, great, let's go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, I know that there are a lot of camps where it's like, there are a lot of people that are all about, we have to do the rules. It has to be
Hmm.
this way. And then there's
Sure.
also the opposite end of, screw all the rules. I'm in the camp of like, whichever your table has the most fun with,
Yeah.
and that includes you too.
Yeah.
Like and that's one of the
That is
neglected
an
things.
important
Yes,
piece of it that can get
yes,
forgotten. The GM should be having fun.
absolutely. Every single person at the table should be
Yeah.
having fun, and if everyone is, then whatever you're doing is working.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um,
Oh,
uh, yeah, go for
uh,
it.
but I remember, like you had mentioned, like um, the scaffolding that supports roleplay in D&D, and like whether or not there were other games that had
I was
other
just
support.
gonna follow up
Yeah,
there. Yeah, if there are other systems, other games you've
yes,
played that you think are more explicit or better designed to support
yes,
beginners in their role play. Yeah.
absolutely. I think I played a lot of different TTRPGs, and most of the ones that I've enjoyed the most, with especially in the cases where I'm playing with someone new that I've never played with,
Hmm.
games like Vaesen or a lot of the Powered by the Apocalypse games
Hmm.
have systems in place that support uh, connections between player characters. And I think that is so useful because, and to compare and contrast, one of the
Yeah.
things I dislike with D&D is
Hmm.
the sections where they're like ideals, traits, like those things. They just
Yep.
they feel so specific, and they probably resonated a lot more with the person who wrote them. Now, these are
Yeah.
probably perfect for that person, but I, whenever I've been confronted with those, I always look at them and I'm like, which one is which one is the least narrow of a box? Which one
Mm-hmm.
doesn't paint
Sure.
my picture in like this very specific frame?
Yeah.
Um, and so like with that, I like games like Vaesen or like the Powered
Mm-hmm.
by Apocalypse games that have the connections because it allows you to establish something strong that you can play with without
Yeah.
painting your character into a corner.
Yeah.
Um, like for example, whenever I've taught improv, one thing that I tell people is that it's a lot more interesting if your characters know each other already.
Mm-hmm.
Because from baseline, say we've got two people at a bus stop,
Mm-hmm.
and these two people don't know each other. If one person starts ranting about something, then it would take a lot for the other person to not just be like, I'm just gonna leave. This
Yeah.
person is scaring me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But same situation, but let's say uh it's me and my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Now if my uncle starts ranting about something, I that's my uncle. I'm gonna stay there. This is
Yeah. Yeah.
and we can
I'm
deal
gonna
with it.
listen. I might ask him what's going on. Be like, yeah,
Yeah,
uncle, are you okay? Like, what's happening in your life that you
exactly.
feel the need to express this to me at a bus stop? You
Exactly. And
know? Yeah.
so it's like with that example in mind, having connections where your character and another character are already linked,
Yeah.
whether it be romantically or maybe they've already been traveling together as heroes, or maybe they're
Mm-hmm.
rivals. Whatever it is, them having that bond already at the start of the campaign lets us cut through a lot of the beginning kind of like wishy-washy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because when everyone meets up,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, I don't know who you are, what do you bring to the table, it all
Yeah.
feels very job interviewing. And if you've started a
Yeah.
lot of games and they all start with strangers, then it gets old because then
Yeah.
everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, what's
All right, we met at the
yeah,
tavern for the 19th time,
right,
but
yeah.
hey, the tavern's got a new name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And so
totally.
I love systems that provide those links,
Yeah.
because if you play that system, then you can bring that to D&D or whatever
Mm-hmm.
other system that might
Yeah.
not have that and say, hey, is it okay if my character knows your character already? What do you think that relationship looks like? Because then you can
Mm-hmm.
start the session already like bickering, or
Yeah.
already like one
Yeah.
person throws
Yeah.
throws
There's
a
history.
knife at the other
Mm-hmm.
person and narrowly misses, and it's like
Yeah.
it makes it a lot juicier, and then we can also see that develop
Yeah.
much more quickly.
Yeah, totally. And to me, I've been playing Rapscallion recently, which is powered by the Apocalypse. And one of the things that I want to mention specifically, like they have a very detailed session zero. This is the game setup. It's like 25 pages of the book.
Yeah.
And there are very specific things in character creation where you choose the other players that you have a bond with, a mechanical resource that affects your gameplay and affects the roles you're going to make.
Mhm.
But you like there's not really a start from scratch. We've never met each other before. You're a pirate crew and you know each other and you have intense emotional feelings about at least two of the other players
That's
or their characters.
fantastic.
Yeah. Highly recommend checking out. I will happily shill for Rapscallion.
Yeah.
It is confusing. I'm excited for maybe a second edition to come out with some clarifications, but like, man, is it fun.
Yeah.
And also interestingly, like one of the things that I learned in playing it is that the way some of the classes, the playbooks are designed, to me, the way they're written and designed is to encourage some inter-character conflict and or conversation,
Mhm.
right? For example, there's the captain. The captain is one of the playbooks. The captain, specifically as it's written, should be willing to sacrifice crew members to their own ambition. The shiprat, kind of the roguish thing, specifically should piss off one of the other characters. They have like a defender and an antagonist, and like they choose two of the other characters that they have this like really intense relationship with. Yeah. Yeah. It was like, oh, this is a really interesting one. I played with someone who had never played RPGs before, crushed it as the captain, like really committed to the bit.
Nice.
But the bit was so well explained, you know? Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
I think that there are a lot of times where someone wants to jump into a game and have maybe a more, I don't want to say like purely antagonistic, but maybe they, I guess in the case of the rogue, yes, but like for the captain, it's like, being willing to sacrifice people, like sacrificing fellow team members, that can be very adversarial at the table.
Yeah.
But it being so outlined, I feel like that softens the blow a little bit, which also allows us to explore it in a way that feels less personal. Because I think a lot of times in like just a regular old game that doesn't have it outlined, if someone decides to do something against a party member, then it becomes, wait, we're not sure if this is Matt saying this or if this is his character saying this,
this is the character.
And we have to figure this out.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate there's, again, like written into their book is like, if someone chooses the captain, you and your players should have a conversation about what that means and where everyone's limits and boundaries on PvP is and like on inter-party aggression.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's one of the games that I've seen best set up what you do in a session 0 and how you can kind of navigate some of the conflicts that are going to happen.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really fun game. Yeah. So I think at this point, like wrenching us back into like more of like the DMing section is like, we've kind of addressed this and in a number of ways, but like specifically, what are the skills you think you acquired as an improv comedian, as an actor, that directly make you a better GM? Or that if not make you a better one, like it made it easy to step into that role as you were asked to by a friend going, hey, will you run this for me?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is that in the course of doing improv with the goal of trying to be comedic, oftentimes we have to play characters that are the bad guy. And then you get destroyed, as you should, as the bad guy. And I think that is one of the biggest things that I've learned for both GMing and especially for playing. Because I've heard plenty of horror stories of GMs who step into the GM role and then they use it as an excuse to execute their power fantasy, whether it be with like a GMPC that saves the party and destroys everything, or if they just subject the party to all manner of like overpowered monsters that the party barely survives. Whereas a big thing, because I've so often played villains in improv that get dunked on, it makes it so that I know, like, as a GM, I'm making this NPC for the purpose of being dunked on in the story. And I'm more than happy to make their fall magnificent. They're gonna be, like, for example, one is super braggadocious. They're gonna be like, essentially like a Gaston of sorts who's talking themselves up, which makes their downfall that much more satisfying. And I'm not tying my personal worth into this character, because I think that's what a lot of it stems from when someone has the power fantasy of beating people down with their monsters. It's like they don't want to lose. Whereas here, like, I'm used to it. I want the players to win. I want them to be the heroes that they want to be. So come destroy my monsters. I'm gonna honor these monsters, these baddies. The BBEG is going to, they're gonna be epic too in their own way, only to make it so the heroes are
Yeah.
extra epic when they finally seize victory.
Totally.
And as a player, it helps because, I mean, I played a lot of video games growing up, and it sucks when you lose in video games. But at the D&D table, you're not gonna roll 20s all night. Maybe hey,
Yeah, load the dice the right way. Sure.
But there are gonna be times, there are gonna be nights where you don't hit a single thing. And I think that being able to separating the luck of the dice from yourself as a person is huge. And that's another one of those skills where, as an improviser playing characters who get downtrodden, and let's say no longer villain, but sometimes you play a character that's supposed to be like a protagonist, and then you end up getting bullied by another character.
Right.
In like, maybe the story arc is this person finally learns to stand up against them. But it's like, at that point, I'm not dunking on the bullies yet. I'm suffering. I'm dealing with the pain so that I can grow. And then at the end of the show, dunk on the bully. And it's like, in D&D, sometimes you have those nights where the dice are bullying you. And then you accept it as, this has no bearing on me. Because if we say I'm not rolling well tonight, but I mean, it's not like loaded dice or like a special skill of, if I'm better at dice rolling, I'm gonna hit every time. When you roll low, that's fate saying it's time for your character to struggle right now.
And then it's time for some growth.
Yes, it gives your character, it gives you the opportunity to role play that, of being like a John Wick when he's getting beat up, of being that protagonist who is struggling right now. For what reason? That's up to you. Whether it's a matter of focus, whether it's a matter of maybe something happened earlier in the session where you're like, wow, maybe that affected my character a ton, and that's why he's missing all this. And maybe you're going up against, like, maybe it's one of those villains where it's like, this is my long lost brother, and then you miss like your first 5 swings, and it's like, of course he would miss. He's going against his brother.
I don't want to hit him.
Exactly.
I haven't seen him in 30 years. Maybe he's actually nice.
Yeah. And you get the privilege to justify that, to explain why, where it's no longer just the number on the die. Your character is hitting or failing to hit, and there's a reason, and you get to fill in the blank.
Yeah. Well, and I love this too, because what we were talking about earlier with adding your flavor and fleshing out the scene, right? As a newcomer to role play, if you're like, man, I keep rolling ones, can't roll above single digits right now, find that reason, find the one extra sentence of like, I'm really scared of hitting my long lost twin brother that I haven't seen in years.
Absolutely.
You're like, great. You don't need to talk to any other characters, don't need to do anything, just add that bit in there. Yeah. And the dice have become the access point for you to kind of dig a little deeper and find these bits of descriptives.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Wow. Is there a piece of advice you would give to every GM, DM, whoever's trying to run a game? What is it and why?
Yes. So the first one that I had in mind, we've already brushed over it, so I'll come up with another one. But I want to reemphasize it real quick. It's just the fact that as the GM, you have to have fun too. You're not just a machine there to provide entertainment for everyone else at the table. If you're crushing it and everyone else at the table is having a blast, but you aren't, then we need to change something. Everyone should be having fun. But beyond that, I think the biggest advice I would give for any GM, especially if they're thinking about trying it, is to just start running games,
Mm,
because
mm-hmm.
we don't want to allow perfection, the idea of
Right.
perfection, to keep you from trying anything. Because there's so many prospective game masters. I had some friends in the past who would talk about, oh, I don't want to run yet because it's not perfect yet. I want to make sure this thing is right, that thing is right. I need to nail this. And they allow that to stop them from actually running the game. And the longer that happens, that puts more and more pressure on running the game, which
Mm-hmm.
is like, running the game is where you learn the most. So for anyone who is allowing that to stop them from running a game,
Yeah.
I just want to say that perfect is overrated. Run the game.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because here's the thing, right? If every element is perfect, there's one thing that won't be perfect if you don't run games. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how well you run games. So that's a skill that you can't
Yeah.
perfect without doing
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
so do it.
Would you advise people looking to just do a thing to run an existing module, to run some, whatever system, whatever, but we can assume D&D, as it might be one of the biggest and most well known, but if I have never run a game before, look for something that's pre-built that's interesting, or just dive in for my own story?
Whichever
And
one. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think as a follow-up, like, do you have a preference for games that you're running, and is it different maybe for your kids' tables versus streamed or other tables?
Yes.
Okay.
So I do both.
Mm-hmm.
I've run, like, when I started doing public games, that's when I ran the same module for every single table.
Yep.
And it was such a blast to see this group of kids. They decide to skip the one jail area that had the man rat behind the
Mm-hmm.
bars, and this table decided to break him out and have him become their best friend.
Mm-hmm.
It's it was such a blast. But I ran that, and it was particularly helpful because I didn't know who was going to show up. I didn't know
Yeah.
when people would show up, because sometimes people would just miss a day. So it's
Sure.
hard to tailor anything really big to anyone in particular, because it's like, if I had something planned for someone, but that was the weekend they couldn't make it, then it might fall a little flat for everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I love modules because then I can spend more time improvising for
Mm-hmm.
sudden impromptu plans of the players. Or
Right.
if I'm playing an NPC, it's a lot easier to jump in because they already have the name, they already have a personality. I could just jump into this person and then switch if they're like, oh, we want to talk to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
um
Yeah.
because the biggest thing is that it lets me use less of my brain in terms of preparation or
100%.
improvising, because coming up with something on the fly can take a lot of bandwidth up here.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
being able to just say, oh, that person exists already, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Um, but I do a lot of homebrew stuff on streams,
Mm-hmm.
um, largely because those games end up, a lot of the systems I've run streams for, they just barely came out. So there's no modules yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Sure.
like,
Sure.
okay, I'm going to come up
It's
with
like, I've
something.
got the rule book, but nothing
Yeah,
else exists. Yeah.
exactly. But I have discovered one of the beauties of it, because a lot of times stream games are very, they're very time strict, where
Mm-hmm.
it's like, this is a one shot. I have 3 hours.
Yeah.
It was hard enough scheduling all these people from all these different places for this one. I don't know if I'll be able to schedule them for another one.
Right.
So, with the homebrew, it's like, okay, I can come up with the elements that I need to. There's a lot of flexibility, but then as far as like specific beats, I don't feel as much pressure to be like, oh, I have to stay true to a module. Not to say
Yeah.
that I do feel that pressure, but there is a little part of it if it's a stream, because I would hate to
Sure.
be like, I would hate to be like, Colin wrote this module, and then I cut out your favorite part because of time. Whereas with the
Yeah, sure.
homebrew, if I made it, then I'm like, okay, I can adjust here. I can make these
Right.
changes there, and it makes it a lot easier
Right.
to
This
work.
NPC maybe shouldn't show up right here, but they
Yeah,
actually need to be like 2 sessions down the line. Yeah,
right.
totally.
Absolutely. It just makes it a lot more flexible. But
Yeah.
for both of them, I'm on board because
Hmm.
they both work
Yeah,
out in different scenarios for different reasons.
totally. So to the first part of that, like, do you think a new GM or DM should do one or the other? Um, Obviously, opinion based. I
Right.
don't know that there's a right answer, and maybe it
Mhm.
does depend on the person. But
Yeah.
a uh, internet stranger, someone
Yeah.
you don't necessarily know, writes to you and they're like, "Hey,
Mhm.
Matt, love your channel. I'm learning a lot. I want to start running games. Just like you said, I'm not going to let it stop me.
Yeah.
Should I run a module or should I try to do? I've had this idea for this fantasy world that I want
Right.
to do."
I I would push for a module first
Mm,
because
yeah,
it allows you to get in the head of and presuming that this is a well-established module,
sure.
um, then it allows you to get in the head of someone who has written these for a while, knows what is needed, and what you should give players at different times.
Hmm. Yeah,
So there might be secrets and stuff where they're like, oh, here's where you get a little reveal. Here's where a
yeah,
character might
totally.
act a little shifty. Here are some stat blocks here. And it's like, it lets you see what someone who has done this before, how they prepare. In essence, it's a module, is just someone's prep for this
Hmm.
story. And so then once you see that, it lets you be more ready to prep your own thing because you won't have as many moments. If you're prep heavy, it will make it so you don't have as many moments where you have to suddenly improvise a thing, where you have,
Hmm.
oh no, my camera's off. Okay, sorry.
So the audio's still coming through totally
Okay,
fine. We're
okay,
good. We're good.
sorry. I'm gonna
Podcasting, a very visual
right.
medium, as we say.
Okay, I'm gonna my camera just overheated. If I give it a minute, it'll
Okay.
come back. But
Okay.
are you cool to keep going like
I
this?
am totally cool. Totally
Okay,
cool. No worries.
okay. It's like it lets the new DM see what's needed, so they don't have to worry about, oh no, I didn't plan this one important thing. What do I do? They'll
Hmm.
know what the important elements to plan are,
Yeah.
so that when they write up their homebrew, when they do their prep for their homebrew, they'll know the necessary elements and they'll be able to
Right.
reference the module for like, oh yeah, I should have planned this thing. But
Yeah.
it also lets you build that skill, like I mentioned before, of being willing to let your NPCs and
Hmm.
monsters bite the dust.
Right.
Because in a homebrew setting, if you crafted something new and you're not used to letting them die yet,
Yeah.
then it could very well be like oh no.
Be a much bigger
Yeah,
attachment to the thing and the NPC that you have made and generated than one that you're like, Fred in this book. Well,
yeah,
Fred looks like an upstanding citizen, but my murder hobos killed him. Whatever.
right. Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like with the module, it lets you get used to your
Hmm.
NPCs and monsters and whatnot biting the dust, so that
Yeah.
when you run your homebrew, you'll make these enemies with the knowledge that they're probably going to be destroyed,
Yeah.
and becoming okay with that.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, it's I sometimes think of it anatomically, like a module gives you the skeleton already. You're
Yes,
it's and by running it, you're kind of learning the anatomy of like which bones need to connect to make sure that you start at the feet and get to the skull and
exactly.
it's still intact.
Absolutely.
And then as a GM, even in a module, you're building the layers of muscle tissue and fascia and skin and ligaments and sinew and whatever with your players.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. So in your own games, and I think especially in the ones that you are creating and rather than running modules, do you have inspirations or tropes of storytelling that you come back to again and again?
Um, I'd say no like specific ones.
Mm.
Uh, I because of doing improv, I've
Mm-hmm.
watched so many things and become exposed to so many different genres of like shows and movies so that I can make jokes about them. Because
Yep.
it's one of the
Yep.
hardest things if you're doing short form improv and they're like, okay, so what are some scenes you wouldn't see from insert new movie here?
Right.
It's hard if you're being asked to do that and you've
Like,
seen none of the movies. So
I don't know what are you talking about? What is this strange thing you're referring to?
right, exactly. And
Yeah.
so I've tried to consume as many
Mm-hmm.
different types of media as possible, even ones that
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, I don't know if I would like that, but let's give it a shot.
Sure.
Because especially if some of my players seem like they're interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because then if there is a specific moment that fits with what the player wants for their character and it
Mm-hmm.
nestles in nicely with the tone of the game, I can
Mm-hmm.
pull from that and use it.
Yeah.
So if maybe the entire squad just they narrowly survive disaster
Mm-hmm.
and they're devastated, everyone's mood is down, then I can, if I know like, okay, this player really enjoys like Hallmark movies,
Right.
so I can insert just like a little lighthearted interaction with a family that they were able to save. Even if they lost
Mm-hmm.
against the big bad,
Mm-hmm.
they saved this family and they could have this cheesy, lighthearted moment that brings everyone's mood back up. Um,
Yeah.
or if someone else wants to feel badass in a moment, and I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I know that they love like old martial arts films, like
Yeah.
Bruce Lee style or Jackie Chan, then I can pull from that and set that up so that I can fulfill that moment and allow them to play their character the way they want it to be played from
Mm-hmm.
something that they're as a player they know all about and they enjoy
Yeah.
and they get to live it now. And so uh I don't have a specific story inspiration
Sure.
because I've tried to consume so
Yeah.
many, and that
Yeah.
opens up a lot of possibilities.
Sure. Are there genres that you prefer working in? I'm trying to think like kind of the broader
Uh-huh.
in your own storytelling, like I guess in genre I'm thinking like do you like more kind of a sci-fi feel or a western feel or high magic, high fantasy or low magic but high fantasy, like those kind of broader categories within these stories that we like telling through games.
Oh, I love all of them.
Hmm.
Like
I mean, same, totally. It, like, really
yeah,
depends on my party and what I want to
right.
do, where
Yeah.
I want to lean. Yeah.
And I think that like loving all of them is such a benefit of being able to pull from the elements of someone else who wants to see
Hmm.
that. Um, Being able to pull those to the forefront, so they're like, oh, Matt knows this. He knows
Yeah.
what this sort of thing does, or he knows what the etiquette is in like a broad intergalactic diplomatic relation moment.
Hmm.
But like knowing those allows you to like set the scene, paint the picture. But a
Yeah.
lot of the stories that we see in those different genres all boil down to a lot of the same things of people, of people
100%.
wanting things, of people
Yeah.
losing things and dealing with that loss, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
uh, being familiar with the backdrops is definitely very helpful, but we
Yeah.
focus back
Totally.
in on the characters.
Yeah. I'm less sanguine about this reference than I used to be, but there's this moment in Sandman that I would bring up in the original comic where, you know, Desire says something like, oh, Dream thinks it's all about his little stories. Let me tell you the plot of every single one of his stories. Somebody wanted something. And I think in a larger sense, right, like all of these different genres, like that, it does boil down to kind of what we were talking about earlier, knowing at a table, knowing what the other characters are after and being able to collaborate on those goals and have them collaborate with you in that way. Because someone wants something.
Definitely.
Yeah. Totally.
See, wait, I'm back. Let's go.
Hey, there we go. We got video back.
Yeah.
You know, good thing. I've always said we've got the faces for radio.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, just in time, I think, for the most important questions. Matt, what is your favorite character class and subclass? Or multiples. Multiples are always accepted.
Wild Magic Sorcerer. That's
wow,
my jam.
No hesitation. Okay.
That's the very first class I picked. And it's always near and dear to my heart because I love the feeling of being out of control now. I love being able to do something where it's like, this is what I intend, but there's also this potential unintended consequence.
It's at least a 1 in 20 chance that it will not be what I want.
Exactly.
Totally.
And it's so much fun to be able to have that always dangling there. Because a lot of times when I level up a lot as a character in whatever game, it tends to feel like I'm becoming so powerful that it's all about what the next bigger, badder thing is, at least mechanically speaking. So always having the possibility of something going horribly awry that tickles the like story driven part of my brain. Yeah, because some of the things that are like more cosmetic could be super impactful story wise. And
got a player in my home game right now that got the you turn yourself blue and you cannot undo it except with a remove curse. And I'm like, this has had major story and character implications for like weeks on end now, including our cleric being like, well, I could remove it for you if you asked. And the person who's blue being like, wait, what? Why didn't you just tell me that like weeks ago? Yeah.
That's incredible. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Do you have, which wild magic table do you like using? Do you stick with kind of the sources from Player's Handbook, or there's 9 million other wild magic tables available on the interwebs, of course.
I usually will offer to my DM and say, hey, do you want to make a wild magic table? Do you want me to make one? And
cool.
Like usually it's an exciting enough prospect that most people will take me up on that. And so, some wild stuff has happened, but
absolutely.
I always feel like being able to give the DM that power ends up with look, sometimes you cross dimensions and sometimes we have to deal with that now. And I think that's just the nature of it. It's just like, it's the roll of the dice. And so I don't have a specific favorite. It's usually just whichever the DM wants to throw at me.
That one's really cool. And I think I would be remiss in this moment to not mention the Wild Magic Reimagined book by our friend of the show, Clark Peterson. I'm going to go back into my notes really fast because it was like a really interesting, fun, unusual sort of a reimagining. I know it's here. I know it's here somewhere. Was it in June? It was. Okay. Clark Peterson with Speaks and Spells Publishing, and you can go back and look at our notes. But an entire wild magic system ready for your perusal and all sorts of wonderful new wild magic features and classes and subclasses, I think designed for all of the class spread rather than any one specific one.
That's awesome. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. It was we had a great time talking about it. It was like a really interesting, weird, very elaborate project. But super fun. Yeah. Well, I think on that note, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Like, what a treat to get to talk to you. Where can people find you on the internet? We will, of course, have show notes, but sometimes people like hearing it too.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been such a blast. It's been such a joy to be able to geek out over improv and D&D and TTRPG stuff.
This is why I do this show, for real. I love getting to talk to people about what they're excited about.
It's such a joy. Everyone can find me everywhere as improv and RPG. And I do a lot of stream stuff. I create, of course, a lot of video content on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram Reels. So if you are a beginner who's anxious about starting to do some roleplay things, then check out my videos and you might find a trick or two that might assist you on the way.
Yeah. And so many other useful, wonderful things on Matt's channels. You can, listeners, also follow The Roll Report on our socials. We are at The Roll Report Cast on Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok for some special things there. And if you really love what we're doing, you can also support us over on Patreon at patreon.com/The Roll Report for as little as $1 a month. And you'll get all sorts of exciting things if you do. You'll just have to head on over to Patreon to find out what they are. Right. Matt, once again, thank you. Such a pleasure. And I can't wait to like see the next streams and find the next new things coming from Improv and RPG.
Thank you so much.
Of course. My pleasure. Listeners, go roll some more dice. And GMs, remember, you get to have fun too. Until next time, friends and family, goodbye.
Bye.